All right, all right. So we are going to talk about what an agent does not do or should not do for you. In the last video, we covered what an agent does, and in the one before that, we talked about when you should get an agent. This is typically for someone who's traditionally publishing, but again, this discussion can be very helpful for self-publishing authors to empower them to be their own advocate. But let's talk about what an agent that you hire to represent you in your book selling process should not do for you or will not do for you. Number one, when you are searching for an agent, keep in mind that any payment will be paid upon the contract being signed. They should not be charging you fees up front. This is not something an agent should do because they are solely representing you to get that contract, to get a book deal. And if you pay them up front, they have no motivation to do that. They're just going, okay, well, I got paid, so I'm going to do my best and we'll see what happens. And they have no skin in the game. So to keep them motivated, typically this is how it works. I worked for a sports agent for many years in the legal field as a paralegal. One of my supervisors was a sports agent, and he never ever got paid before the contract was signed. He got a percentage of the contract amount. So keep that in mind. You should never be paying fees up front. Now, in my last video, I talked about how your agent may suggest some edits to the manuscript. They may know what a particular editor at the publishing house likes to see or doesn't like to see. They may have some suggestions on how to tweak the manuscript in a specific way to your benefit. But this is not what they do. They aren't an editor. They're not going to proofread the book or line edit the book for you. They're probably going to make suggestions if they see a need to make, but this isn't like step one, edit this. They may have some discussions with you about, what do you think about this? Or let's talk about how to phrase this, or whatever it is they see. But this isn't a full edit. You should already have an edited manuscript when you come to them. Now, if they see that you don't have an edited manuscript, but they still accept your submission, it could raise a question, only because if they're referring you to an editing service, they may be getting a kickback. They may be getting some payment, like a percentage. So if they make it seem like it's required, that could be a red flag. And perhaps not. Perhaps it really does need to be edited, and they just have like a list of editors that they've referred people to, but make sure that it feels like it's on the up and up. They shouldn't, be getting charged a kickback. You shouldn't be filtered through this unnecessary service, is what I'm trying to say. And speaking of that, they shouldn't charge you for editing your manuscript. They're not editors, they're agents. You may perhaps run across an agent who is also an editor, like a freelance editor. I don't know if that's something that happens, but I would assume it can. However, again, just know that unless you're hiring an editor, you're hiring an agent, okay? They're two different roles, and an agent is not going to charge you for editing suggestions, okay? They're not going to do a full sweep, and so they shouldn't be charging you for that service. If they say you need it, you may need it, but you should be free to pick your own editor at that point, okay? So just keep that in mind. Just watch how they handle the editing topic of your book, if you will. Another thing that an agent should really not do is pitch your book to a vanity press. Now, we've talked about a vanity press in previous videos, and really what you should keep in mind is an agent should be focused on the big houses, not big as in like big names, big massive, only the top tier, but traditional publishers is really what I mean. those publishing houses that require you to have an agent, they shouldn't be knocking on the door of small press publishing, publishing houses that don't require agent submissions unless there's just some sort of reason, which I don't know. I can't think of one. You don't get a book deal from a vanity press. You just don't. So there's no reason for an agent to be doing that. There's something else going on. They really should not be, there's no guarantee in the book industry. So if you ever hear someone guaranteeing that they can get your book sold, or, oh, I guarantee you I can get it submitted to a certain publisher, I guarantee they're going to be taking this type of book next year, whatever it is, be aware of that. They really shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be acting as the promoter of your book, someone who's out there talking about your book and marketing it for you. The key to remember an agent role is they're literally helping you through the sales process. Your book is not even published yet when the agent is involved. Once the agent hands you off to the publisher, their role is pretty much done at that point, and they get paid and they move on. So they are a shepherd from unsigned to signed, contracted to contracted. That is the role of their world. So if they're operating outside of that world, editor, promoter, publicist, whatever else there is, be aware. That's just something you should be aware about. They really shouldn't be doing that. And they're really not going to, I don't want to say it like comfort you through this process, but this is a hard business. They're not going to, for lack of a better term, like pussyfoot around. They're not going to make this easier for you and soften the blow. When you get a rejection, they're going to tell you you've been rejected, and that is what it is. They don't get paid until your book gets sold. So they're not happy about it either. And they're not going to come at you some of them, hopefully they're compassionate and sensitive, but they're not going to come at you in a way that cushions this as like, well, maybe they'll come back later. No, they're going to be straightforward with you. They're not trying to help you manage the grief of getting rejected and dealing with the emotions of that. They might be reassuring. They might say, be encouraging, but they're not your counselor. Okay. So just keep that in mind as well. They're not there to befriend you in a girlfriendy type way where you need someone's shoulder to cry on. You should also understand that agents, just like other professionals, have a business to run too. They're not at your beck and call. They're probably, I'm giggling because working in the legal field, I know lawyers, and I'm in my head, agents are very similar to lawyers. They're representatives. So they're not going to drop everything and be immediately calling you. They may not be very good at communicating is what I'm trying to say, but I also don't want to dog on them because there's many, many good ones. Just like lawyers, there's many good lawyers that will be very responsive, but just understand that you are not their only client. You are probably not their most important client if they even rank them at all. And they have lots of things to do, phone calls to make, emails to send, et cetera, et cetera. So be patient. They're not going to be able to, again, it kind of goes back to that hand holding. They're not going to comfort you through this process. So if you need someone to vent to, or if you are just like, oh, I can't handle the weight of seeing if they've accepted my pitch, my proposal, call a friend, okay? Your agent will let you know when they hear something, but don't be pushy. Don't assume that they are just waiting for your call. They're not. They're just not. So they're not going to be that type of role in your life, the counselor type of role. There are probably many other things that they're not going to do, but those are the big ones I want you to keep in mind, because if you're looking for more of a friend through this thing, that is indeed what a book coach can help with. Something that I've helped with clients in the past going through that process of just saying, okay, well, we need to be dealing with rejection here. That's okay. But that's not the agent's role. So just keep that in mind. And in our next few videos, we're going to go over some things that you should know about the pros and cons of working with an agent, and some more red flags that you need to be aware of, and what do they get paid, and what you should expect with all of that. So please come back, keep things in mind, and come back, and we'll keep learning.